Welcome to Let's Go Live. I'm Gigi Mara, and I have with me romantic, mystic author and tarot card reader, Kelly O'Hearn. Kelly, welcome.
Thank you, Gigi. How are you?
Hey, you got on super fast.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is my first Instagram Live interview, so I
Okay.
wanted to be sure I did it properly. So I'm glad it worked.
Well, thank you for letting my be the first one to do it with you. I feel honored.
I'm looking forward to this.
So, I want to start right off the bat because I feel like we should separate into two parts. And I don't know if we really can because your story is so integrated with the tarot cards. And I've been to your website and it is fabulous. But if we could like talk about the book and then the tarot side, that would be fantastic. But I want to, okay, good. So I want to make sure though, I said romantic mystic author, but what would you call yourself?
Um, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a paranormal historical fiction with romance and intrigue. It's a really sexy read. It doesn't really fall in the typical romance genre, but I like that description, a romantic mystic author, because has those elements. So I think that was really very like aptly created.
Okay, good. Because I thought maybe I'm getting a little too far off the reservation.
No, it's good. It's perfect. It's spot on.
Okay, so tell everybody what the name of your book is and what made you start writing it.
So the series is called Arcanum. And I have two books. The first book is In the Temple Shadows, and the second book, which just came out Tuesday of this week, is Whispers in the Forest. And
Congratulations.
the reason I started to write was I channeled the entire story using my tarot cards. And I did it through the lens of my soul and where my soul has been in this past life karmic cycle that I'm in. And the stories, Gigi, were so amazing. They were so rich and I had to share them. And I realized that in order to do that, I had to write a book. And believe me, it's not something I've ever aspired to do.
It's difficult, right?
It is. It is. Yes. There's a reason it's a huge billion-dollar industry. It's a big process of, it's not just, sitting down and writing a manuscript. There's so much more to it.
Oh, I say you have to be an author every single day. You have to choose it
Yeah.
because it's not easy and you want to give up like a million times over.
Yeah. I mean, I have a great team. I love to collaborate. I don't like to work in isolation. So that makes it a real joy for me. But yeah, you have to show up every day.
So let's dive into the first book. How many words or pages is it? And then how long did it take you to write that through this tarot process that I do want to talk about in depth?
Sure. So the first book is about 285 pages.
Mhm.
And I think from the time it was started to the time it was finished, it was about a year, maybe a year and a half, to the time it was published. And yeah, I think that's about right. I think that's about right. And it just, as for my first one, it was just such a learning curve. So when the second one came, which is a longer book, the second book is about 390 pages. That also took it was a little under a year for that book to get birthed. So it was a faster process.
Mhm.
But it's amazing that once you find your groove, you just have so much more to say.
Well, okay, that's what I was going to say. On writing the first book, isn't it learning what kind of author you are, how you write, your writing style? How much of that did you have to learn yourself before you get into the book? Or did you just kind of learn as you go on that debut novel?
Yeah, I learned as I went. Yeah, and then I've improved substantially. But because I channeled this story through the tarot, I like lived it. I experienced it. So it's not that hard for me to go ahead and just put in the dialogue and put in the structure to it. And then I do have someone that I rely on, and who is just the most extraordinary person that will like format it properly. And because I've never taken a writing class, I don't even like know the punctuation, like with the quotations, like all that stuff. So I'm learning. But yeah, I just kind of write and then just let it rip.
Kelly, I feel like if we used to know where commas and punctuation were, that's out the window because
Yeah.
you think it, then the Oxford comma and complex sentences, and then you're like, what? Did I really learn this? And so I feel like there's super gifted people for that. I am not one of
Yeah.
them. So it sounds like you are not
No.
either. Is that a developmental editor though to help you kind of put all the pieces together, or just like a really dear friend who's really good at
No,
this?
it's a writing collaborator,
Hmm.
because like she's a professional, because I literally have never written anything in my life. I was a science and math kid in school. Even a book report
Jeez.
gave me it was always agita to write an essay or anything. So but the content lives within me, so it's a great partnership.
So Kelly, why now on this debut novel that you already wrote? And we'll get into the second book, but why now?
Well, it's because this is when the story came. You know, I up until this point in time, it was just I never had the inspiration to share a story, to write a book. So once I had this experience and I realized I wanted to share it, and it's all fictionalized, of course, it's a fiction, it's a novel of fiction, but it was just meant to be.
So I do want to hear that story. It took you over a year to write the first, shorter time to write the second. Why? What changed?
I would have to say just experience and momentum, more confidence in myself, understanding the process, what's involved, knowing what comes next down the line, right? Understanding the process of editing, proofreading, formatting, cover design, all the things that you don't think about because, I'm just thinking about, oh, if I write a manuscript, then I can just publish it, blah, blah. No, there's more to it than that. So really being more strategic with time, and deadlines and things like that, really helped me do it faster for the second one.
So those that are new and aspiring that would like to write a book, because it is on many people's bucket list, what advice would you give them if they want to start out?
Well, I mean, I can only give the advice of and the experience of what I went through, and you just sit down in a chair and start writing, because there are people that will help you down the road, streamline, advise on, if you need more, more content here, or it needs to be more structured or tapered down and edited here, but just write or type or whatever, your modality is. But don't, because the more we think about it, the more likely it is we won't do it.
Oh, I think that's very true. I mean, we talk ourselves out of a lot of our
Yeah.
dreams, unfortunately. And
Yeah.
that's tragedy because we all only get one shot at this.
Exactly. I mean, Gigi, you don't understand. Before I even started book one, I went back and forth for weeks. Like, I don't want to do this. Don't make me do this. Like, I knew I was being called to do this. Like, I knew it was something that I was going to have to do, but it took me a hot minute to really accept that and really just come to peace with it and then pivot to like, okay, I'm going to do this. But once it started, then, I never looked back.
So, congratulations on your
Thank you.
release Tuesday.
Yes.
Take us through this story, this series, and then where it's going to go from here. So, book one, and then two, and then if you said it's a series, so
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
image.
I love that. So the premise is past lives. And so the souls, the people that we encounter that we feel that we've had past lives with, right? We've all had that person or few people that were like, God, I just feel like I've known you my whole life.
Yes.
So in Arcanum, there are five main characters, five souls that travel through space and time together, and they share these lifetimes over and over and over, all in service of getting our heroine, Sarah, who's the protagonist, to accept true love into her life, love of self and then love of her soulmate.
Oh, I love
But
that.
it's like how many lifetimes does it take to embrace happily ever after? So in book one, you start the book on her 40th birthday. She wakes up, it's her 40th birthday. She lives in New York City, which is where I'm from. So you often write about what you know.
Sure, sure.
And right. And you start to meet these five characters in the modern day timeline. these five souls. At the same time, that storyline is juxtaposed against a complete past life. So in book one, it was ancient Egypt. And you see in a graphic at the beginning of the book which character is the same soul. Like Sarah in New York is Sarah in Egypt, and who is her soulmate, and who are the other souls. But the series is intended to be 6 books, and
Okay.
it's, yeah, so I have four more to go. But we're not going to talk about that right now. And it just shows her basically going through, you know, a real journey of understanding who she is, embracing herself, and allowing love.
So I have a theoretical question, more, yeah. So on Hindus believe that the soul continues to come back, learn
Mhm.
lessons, gets to different levels of achieve, you know, to achieve and collect experiences. Does that ever have a comparison into this? I know you talked about tarot, but does that ever weave in? Do people, when they read this, think like it has a little bit of Hindu elements to it?
I don't know if, I mean, I've never heard anyone ask that question before or reference that, you know, that link. You
Mhm.
know, I mean, of course, I've heard people talk about karma and things like that, and the whole idea of reincarnation. So, but not Hindu specifically, no.
Yeah, and so I like to study other cultures. You know, I'm a woman of faith, but I feel like other cultures and religions are fascinating because we do have beliefs and they are, you know, private and also strong to our individual
Hmm.
selves. I find that fascinating how we all are so different in our beliefs and how we got to that journey. And so I did study Hinduism, and that is similar, right? It's past lives. So in your book with Sarah, does she know about these past lives, or is she having to relive them over and over again? Because the Hindus, you don't get a peek as your past life, like, oh, I was like a princess or I was a sheep herder. You have to relearn. So is it your book similar for Sarah's
Yeah,
journey?
she's no one's aware of the past lives that they have shared. Although they start through, she does go to see a, you know, like a psychic that
Oh,
talks to her about the concept of past lives. So she is open to the possibility of that, and that unfolds as the series continues. Um, but you know, Gigi, this whole thing came about because I did a past life regression myself in 2017.
oh.
And in that experience, the woman that did it for me told me that I was in this karmic cycle of living as a woman, most recently, always in the company of very powerful men, but never as the wife, always as the muse or the mistress or the mystic and all of these things. So it was that premise that I used to channel Arcanum. Like, what were these past lives? But we don't remember our past lives, right? I mean, there are times where we can have a psychic experience or a breakthrough experience. I know people can have had real powerful rememberings through hypnosis and things like that. So there are different avenues that you may be able to access that. But for the most part, most of us walk around that this is my one life. This is the one life I get to live. It's not a dress rehearsal. So let's go. And thank God, because to have all those memories, I think would be very distracting.
Okay, so let's back up right there. What made you go and seek out a past life regression therapist or specialist?
Mhm. Well, when I started, I welcomed the tarot into my life at, how old was I? I was probably about 47. So this was never something that I grew up with, was familiar with. I'd heard of it, of course,
Sure.
but had never had an experience. But I was in my quote unquote dark night of the soul moment.
Mm.
And I just found it haphazardly. And I embraced it because it had nothing to do with my life. And I studied this language and I learned this language because it is a language. The tarot is a language. So fast forward to where a lot of people are encouraging me to do this for a living, to, you know, to offer my services and give readings professionally. And before I felt comfortable charging money for that,
Sure.
I hired an astrologer, I hired a psychic, I did numerology, I had an Enneagram. I tried all these different modalities of energy, mysticism, spirituality, you know, all that in that arena. And one thing I decided to try was a past life regression, more out of curiosity as to how do other people run their business.
Okay.
Just to well, to help me figure out if I'm going to charge money to give
Oh,
tarot readings,
right.
how do I do that? What does that look like? Because I'm a businesswoman first and foremost. So, and then, and then that I got comfortable with that. And now I have a global tarot business. So it worked out really well.
So walk us through what you talked about, the different modalities.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know a little bit about them, but how do they differ and how do people know which one is for them? Because
That's a
I
great
feel
question.
like the lines can be really, really blurred.
That's such a good question. Um, so, for instance, of the ones that I mentioned,
Mhm.
tarot is a divination tool that allows people to get understanding and access to where their energy is in relationship to what they want. As far as I'm concerned, it's not a fortune telling tool, although a lot of people do ask for those types of awarenesses.
Sure.
Astrology, of course, is the map of who you are and gives a lot of insight into themes, patterns, that you have in your life based on where literally the cosmos, the planets, the stars were at the time of your birth, and the time and place of your birth is very important to astrology. So it's a much more concrete system where I think a lot of people enjoy that. Like everyone loves to read their zodiac sign monthly or whatever. It's just fun, and it's a very fun
Right.
modality. Psychics, of course, are people that, by the very definition of the word, have access to understand who we are, relationships we may have, and in that capacity, they tend to be maybe a little bit more prophetic in nature.
Okay.
To maybe reveal future possibilities more so than I think other modalities. And then a past life regression just helps you to understand where your soul may have been, the lessons that you're learning, the reason that you're in this lifetime, in this incarnation, if that resonates with you, to really just help you understand yourself better. But that's the ultimate goal. At the end of the day, it is to know thyself. And there are these different tools that we have, the few that I mentioned are some that allow that to like assist us with that.
So give us an example, either like yourself or a client that comes to you. Where do you start? Where do they end up? What are they seeking and what answers do they get or that, do they receive typically?
Right. Well, as you can imagine, no one comes to me when life is going swimmingly, right? It's just like, no, that's not how it works.
Isn't that the
So most of my clients are seeking some sort of understanding, information, relief from a blockage, a struggle, heartbreak, a challenge in
sure?
their life and in their field. So my job is to help me align or my client's energy with the results that they want. So let's just say it's around love
Okay.
and someone is single and they're looking for a partner and where is he, where is she, blah, 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 blah. I can help them understand that the very vibration that they are holding is in direct contrast and challenge to the result that they want. Because when you ask where is he, when is he coming, that very statement indicates that you don't have it now.
But oh my gosh, Kelly, we can say that statement for finances, job
Yep.
promotion. I mean, that when is it going to happen? The
Yep.
seasons of waiting and these periods. I mean, oh my gosh, that's all of us at any given moment in time.
All that.
When am I going to get pregnant? When will I get married, etc.?
All that. Absolutely. And these are all great questions. These are all valid questions. But from an energetic standpoint, and we live in an energetic universe. I mean, the seven hermetic principles, the law of attraction, the law of correspondence, the law of duality, like all these things. And I know the law of attraction is a very zeitgeist popular one now. A lot
Yes.
of people know about that.
Yeah.
Like, I want to manifest this. I want to manifest this. And that's awesome. And these are still all very good questions to ask oneself. But through my work, I help them to understand how to hold their energy, their intention, use their language, the right words to use as questions in order to allow the probability, a very high probability of receiving that. Um,
So you
So
said
it's
a moment ago, we're using language that's scarcity because you
mhm,
say, when is he coming or when is she coming?
mhm.
And that's in direct conflict, you said, to what like the karmic energy or the universe is set. And why is that? What, I mean, what should we be saying? Because we do question. I think it's like the human nature to question.
Absolutely. And the question even in and of itself isn't the problem.
Mhm.
It's the energy behind it, the momentum that we have built in the waiting and the wondering and all of that. So I know when someone, go ahead.
Question
Yeah.
then, because it's almost like then the second thought, when is he coming, he or she, when that
Yeah.
promotion, the baby, you name it, it's never going to happen.
Correct.
I feel like one thought immediately leads to another.
100%.
Am I, so I'm not
No,
wrong.
no, you're 100% right because there's a frustration and a futility behind it, and then we start to lose faith, and
Of course.
and our hope dwindles, and we just we
Give
just.
up.
But that's why it often happens when you're not looking for it. You know the cliche, it'll always happen when you're least expect it.
Of course.
That's because your focus and your energy is on something else that is giving you either joy or perhaps a challenge. But then life has, God, the universe, the divine, whatever you want to call it, has the ability now because you've created all this possible space around you. So think of it as literally like a taco, right? Or a burrito. When you want something so much, you're gripping on it and you're holding onto it so tight that you've wrapped yourself up so tightly in the desire of that one result.
Yes.
When you all of a sudden can say to yourself, like, okay, you know what? I don't have the bandwidth for this anymore. I'm just going to focus on my family, on my friends, on myself, feeling good, whatever it is. And all of a sudden that whole thing unwraps and there's space, and we all know nature abhors a vacuum. Life must fill that space. It must. It's universal law. So it offers an opportunity for people to really understand through my work where they are really tight and cut off from allowing life to show up for them.
You have a comment. Oh, I'll forever experience tacos and burritos
Yay!
with an enlightened mind. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Okay, so do you want to speak to that comment?
Well, I mean, I'm glad. But see, I'm a very visual person. As just that's just my default setting. So when I talk about things, I always use imagery that people can really relate to. And we've all had a burrito that's been perfectly super tight and awesome, and then we've all had the one that's really loose and just falls apart. But then there's there for in terms of what I'm talking about, the metaphysical and energy. There's room for things to enter.
So I love just talking to you because I can feel the enlightenment. I can feel the energy and the positivity just radiating out of you. And I would imagine your clients, it's talking to you just kind of it takes the energy down, it decompresses. It's not that serious. It'll happen and kind of restores some of that hope. And
Yeah.
probably
Thank you.
undoes some of the limiting beliefs that we love to hold on to, that we burrito ourselves into.
Yep. Absolutely. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, it's a very I mean any kind of work that you do in energy. So, when I say that, what I mean is, there are four parts of being human: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, but I call it energetic. So when you work with that, higher self, energetic self, soul, whatever is a comfortable language for you, you really have the ability to open up new avenues of possibility for things to happen in your life that you desire. And until we know where we're holding blockages, because most of this stuff is not in our conscious mind. Most of this stuff is stuff from our childhood. That's our programming. It's our belief system. It's the community we were raised in. And it's not because anything was bad. It's just life.
Yeah, it's just
So, right? I mean, it's okay. But once I can talk to people, and I have such profound compassion because we all have it. It's in our unique story, but we all go through it. No one is oblivious. Maybe people that sit crisscross applesauce in the Himalayas don't have it as bad,
among
and I applaud them. But I
yeah.
don't want to live there. I want to live in my life. I like my messy life. And so but when you the empowerment that they do feel when we're done with our sessions is remarkable, and it's I can't tell you what a joy it is to do my work. I love it.
So is it possible that through tarot, when clients come to you with, any issue or any limiting belief, that by the end, however long that takes or how many ever readings, that they overcome it? Is that even the right word to use? Like change their energy? What I don't what's the right word? Not healed.
Yeah, no, because it never fully goes away, in my opinion. There are things that we can definitely overcome and leave in the past, and move forward to a new future. But
Mhm.
and that's a beautiful moment. We've all had those experiences. But our stuff, our wounds, whatever it is, we just need to turn the volume down. We need to shrink it to size, not let it run and drive the bus. It needs to go sit in the back, and it's not going anywhere, but it's just not so active in our field. So,
Said, I've taken some hits, health and a divorce that I didn't see coming, but I always say, there's just so raw if you've ever been through those moments. But at some point, over time, they just
mhm,
become benign.
mhm,
They're not good or bad, they just are.
mhm,
But it's so hard to tell people when they're in the thick of it that eventually it will become benign. You'll
right.
think about this event that happened to me, and you're like, it's neither good nor bad, it just is.
Yeah. Well, of course. And when something's fresh and new, obviously we're very much in the emotions of that. And that's okay. I love emotions, the ones that are perceived as negative, and of course, we all love the ones that are perceived as positive.
Mhm.
But what I'm talking about is different than our emotions. I mean, it's all related because it's
Sure.
all the self. But you can still keep your energy in a really elevated place, allowing life to start to help you. It's an asset, it's like a tool, and still be sad and still be angry and still be processing resentment. They're
Wow.
not mutually exclusive, but oftentimes we allow our emotions to just take us over, and we just again we shrink, we tighten up, we get really, really grippy.
We
Um,
don't know how to untangle them. It's like
I
that,
know.
Christmas lampoon when he gets the whole ball of ornaments out, the lights
Right.
up, and it's a big ball of tangled.
Right.
I feel like that's life and emotions and energy. And so when you say that we can separate emotions from energy,
Mhm.
I find that fascinating because one, I've never heard it before. To me, it's always like, oh, we got to go through the pain. You can't outrun it. You can't go over it. You got to go through it. And so you're saying you can have both.
Mhm.
It's mind blowing.
Yeah. Well, it's because when I'm working, it's very easy for someone to, really start to feel that differentiation between your emotional body and your energetic body.
Mm.
But again, they're all the one self.
Yes.
So it's just like how our emotions have a physical implication on us. Our emotions, especially negative emotions, lead to a process of dis-ease, which then can manifest into disease in the body.
Yep.
Of course, everything has a physiological reason as well. It's not just an emotional reason. But, it's the same thing. We can separate out our energy and still tap into who we really are and take our power back in a way that allows us the dignity of our grief, our pain, our anger, whatever that emotion is, which deserves our time and the process. There's an elegance to that, even though it's painful. But at the same time, we can energetically hold a high vibration. It's
Well, it's fascinating because we know there is a mind body connection.
Mhm.
And 80% of autoimmune diseases are in women. And I feel like the reason why is because we are everything. We are the core of the family.
Mhm.
We are the ones that go out and earn the money, take care of ourselves, take care of our family,
Mhm.
etc. And so to me, I get what you're saying, that unresolved enters the body and stays in the body. Do
Correct. Correct.
do you have people that come to you not only if they're looking for love, but maybe they do have illness going on and they're trying to
Mhm.
separate, you can't ever break that mind body connection, but trying to, like you said, unwrap the burrito so it's not so tight.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do. Obviously, I'm not a diagnostician and I don't give diagnoses, but I can channel wellness and where things may be living within them. and what exactly that is, because it's often not what you think, right?
Okay.
So a lot of people will say, I lost my job and I fell on hard times and life, that life just all of a sudden I've just a string of bad luck and
Yeah,
nothing
when
ever
it
works
rains, it
out for me,
pours. We all
right? And just this poor me victim. And I get it. I mean, because there's all those things are factual, right? Those things actually did happen to that client. However, when I am finished and we've worked together, they start to understand that they have given their power away to everything else around them. And by starting to take their power back through their voice, through all of these things, it starts to, it doesn't erase the memory or the fact that it actually happened, but all of a sudden it just doesn't take up so much mental real estate in their existence. And now again, they have more space to go create and allow life to be have a different narrative.
So does the language we use continue then to reinforce either the negative or positive energy?
I feel language is vitally important.
Oh.
We can't, stuff happens and, and we have trauma and we have challenges and we have things that set us off, and that's okay. But the language I think is very important, especially the language between me and me, the language you use between you and you.
Yeah, the negative side.
That's the most important language. If you're recounting a story, if you're telling, and if you're dissing on an old boyfriend, whatever, that's fine.
That's
Right? He may deserve it. But 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 it's the language between our with ourselves to ourselves that is where we tend to sabotage and like the wheels come off of us.
Oh, I mean, the longest relationship we have is with ourselves,
Hmm.
and yet it's the relationship we work the least on.
Correct.
Especially, I feel, as women and mothers and caregivers. Let's be honest. I mean, we go to work, we take care of the kids, the husband, the
Hmm.
house. We are in the very back seat. You said the back of the bus. Dude, I think we're like in underneath in the storage section or something like that. We just don't prioritize our own self care. So I can imagine what's going on, in our own mind. It's just a list of all this negative. I've gained weight, I got stretch marks, I have it, just all this negative self talk.
Yeah, no, it's really, it can be very devastating and really paralytic. And that's where I want with my clients to empower them to release that. Again, it's never going to go away. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this whole idea of like, don't think about things, clear the mind. It's really hard. I mean, it's super
Meditate.
hard. So then we get critical about that. Like, oh, I suck at meditating. Then we have this whole thing where we're like chastising ourselves for being bad at that. But it's just a wonder when you really understand the truth of it all
Mm-hmm.
and you create that space around you and within you, and the narrative just automatically starts to change. You just start to have more compassion for yourself, for the person who is maybe the object of your disdain or your what you perceive as your misfortune, whatever it is. It's really powerful work.
Well, well, I find it fascinating because, yeah, meditating is I've heard it said like it's like drunk monkey. You're trying to continue to bring back your mind to that breath and focus on your breath. But we go through the grocery list, that fight, that something from last week. It's just,
Hmm.
if you're a big person in a meditation, which I do, your brain is not meditating the full 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes that you're trying to do it because it just is not who we are.
Yeah, I mean, I love to meditate, but my meditations are very visual and they're very engaging. It's
Is that visual like with your eyes closed, or is that
Mhm.
visual when you're doing the tarot?
No, it's visual with my eyes closed.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. So
yeah,
that's way more productive because we all do these guided meditations. I mean, the world is loaded with them and they'll walk you through. It brings you back to your breath. But if you're not, sometimes it's just hard to stay focused. So yours is almost like a visualization.
correct. When I learned, I struggled with the whole breath part of it. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie. I mean, I love that now, but I couldn't get into the meditation through that doorway. That wasn't working for me.
I
So
like that.
I developed a modality of visualization. I developed a safe space where it was like a visual space that was a safe place for me to be, and that I could observe myself as well as observe the space, like see myself from above, but also just see it all through my eyes, my inner eye.
Super.
And then all of a sudden, this whole world developed of awareness and capacity of my guides, like everything.
Okay, that is fascinating. So, is that because of the tarot card reading or how advanced you are? And is that something that you provide for your clients as well? Because we all want to open up the mind and get out. We trap ourselves, right? We just make our world smaller and smaller and smaller, like your burrito analogy. But do you help people create the safe space also?
If that's something they desire, yes, I have with my clients worked on their practice of what does it look like for them, because we're all very individual.
Sure.
So it's just to have one, and like you said, there are thousands of breathtaking guided meditations out there, and some of which I adore and I've loved. But in terms of a personal practice, you have to allow yourself to tell you how it has to go.
Well,
Allow your
talk
higher
about
self to show you what that looks like. Um,
makes sense because we talked about you have to discover what type of author and writer you are.
yeah,
You're saying the same thing with meditation. You have to
totally.
figure out what works for
Yeah,
you and what's going to bring in what you seek.
exactly. And I'm so glad you related that and correlated those, because meditation is a very creative experience. It's all it's tapping into our true self, which is the heart of our creativity. So it's not surprising for me as an individual that, as I said, I'm very visual, that mine is very, very stimulated through, even though my physical eyes are closed, I have a huge landscape that that I exist in when I meditate, and that I experience things in when I meditate. So depending upon where your creativity lies, if someone's creativity lies in their voice rather than in their sight,
Mhm.
there may be music, there may be sound vibrations, there may be different megahertz that really come to them when they close their eyes and they go within, and then nothing's right or wrong. It's just yours.
Oh, I love that. Just yours.
Mhm.
Do you get answers?
All the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you send, let me back up. Can you send questions out? Um, a difficult conversation that needs to come up. I don't know, maybe you're in some difficult situation that you're in. Can you ask for help? And do you get answers back that way? Or is it only answers to things you have not thought of yet?
I ask for help on everything. And
Really?
I do. I mean, and it's not the help that you're thinking like you're going to get from, if you were helping me out with something, or my sons are helping me out with
Okay.
something. Like, it's not that kind of help. It's for help of awareness. Like, help me to find the words to explain this in a way that reaches this individual. Help me to know the right thing to choose. Help, just, and so I ask all the time for intervention, and yeah, for divine intervention.
Well,
And
I love that because people can be conflicted. You get a job promotion, but then it includes a transfer.
mhm.
Well, do I uproot my family or do I stay here? I mean, there's so many times we want to see the future because we're at the crossroads. You know, it's going to be like a linchpin decision that could be changing the whole trajectory of your life. And I think all of us want confirmation back. Nobody wants to go down the wrong road.
100%. And it's not always a confirmation, Gigi.
Mm.
It's just almost like a gnosis. It's like a knowing,
Oh, like a
that it's gonna be okay. And I can use my cards and my intuitive abilities to see if if, like say you get a job promotion, you have to move. Do I uproot my
yeah,
children? Do I uproot my family?
huge decision.
Enormous, a lot of implications, but I can figure out if that move is a good energetic match for my family. I go through each member of the family, the children, the spouse, if there is one, whatever. And then if that is the case where the energetics line up, I will feel safer making the decision, the mental choice to move my family, knowing that there will still be struggle. Moves are very emotional. You know, the kids are uprooted. They have to make new friends. That will never change. That's just the framework of life. But I trust that the energies will support us and it will be a smoother transition.
That right there, that technique right there, where you said, I'm going to not only energetically go through the process with me and how I view the problem, but I'm going to go down every member that's affected in this situation, your family, and I'm going to measure their impact, but yet we'll still have struggle. We'll still have rub or friction, because I feel like when we make a decision, we're like, yep, everybody said yes, guides, God, let's go. And then when we have struggle, we're like, maybe it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, we do become very
We
defeatist.
discount it.
Yeah.
And so you're saying both exist.
Correct.
Energetically, I did, feel how I kind of got to check in with everybody, but yet understand logically there's still going to be a rub.
Of course.
That's huge.
Well, because change by its very definition, it involves the unknown. So
Yeah.
you can never foretell the future. I really believe that. I don't think the future is really truly possible to be 100% sure about. And I mean, there's some people out there that are really, really gifted at that and have a really good track record of hitting it spot on. But because we all have free will, there's so many different reasons why. So, it can happen like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this trip. I'm going to go live abroad my junior year in college. And it's a really challenging time. Maybe something happens internationally and it changes the whole vibe of where you're living. Those things just happen. Life happens, right? But the energy I feel is very consistent.
But that's fascinating, because we say, and you hear this all the time, oh, well, I made the best decision based upon the information I had.
Mm-hmm.
But when things don't work out, we think, well, I made the wrong decision.
No.
And so you're saying those coexist. No, it could be the best decision that you had at the time energetically, but yet still not be where you're supposed to be. Maybe it's a stepping stone to something else.
Thank
Maybe
you.
you had to go through that hardship, the uneasiness, the turmoil to kind of change paths. I used to be this, there's a fork in the road. I took one, I should have been on the other.
Or no, you shouldn't have, because you didn't take that one. If you were meant to be on the other, you would have chosen the other. You chose exactly the right one for you. However, we all want the happily ever after.
Yeah, we do.
Right? And of course, and that is something that I hope humanity never gives up on, is the belief that things will get better or things are going to work out for me.
Hope.
I just, it's one of my favorite statements that I say to myself all the time is everything always works out for me. Even when things are messy and uncomfortable. Like I trust that has purpose too.
Oh my gosh, I love that, because everyone walks through hardship. They're all different, but we look at the pretty people, the rich people, the happy people. You put whatever label you want, because we've all done it, high school, college, after, and we think that they're trouble free. They don't have
no, they just have problems in a bigger house.
Or and completely different.
Yeah, I mean, but everybody has their challenges. Trust me, I've worked with thousands of people all over the globe. I mean, I'm on every continent. Well, not Antarctica, but everybody
Not yet.
has their challenges. I know, not yet. I'll get them.
So, in your meditation practice that you talked about and walked us through, which I think is brilliant, do you take clients through that too? I know you said if they need that, but what would a typical tarot card reading entail? Does it start with one thing and then it kind of morphs into another? Or is there a questionnaire that your clients have to fill out? Like, how do you know where to start? Because everybody
yeah, no, I normally work for an hour. I do 30-minute sessions, but most of my sessions are 60 minutes. And I don't get any information from people before I connect with them.
Oh.
I know their name. I sometimes don't even know their last name, but I don't know anything about them.
Okay.
All with work like this, you just have to have an open mind, an open heart, and and just be open. And you can be a skeptic. That's completely fine. Just have curiosity, But so normally, if it's a new client, I tend to request that I just tap into their general overall energy, where they are right now in relationship to their 3D reality. What's having the greatest effect on their life right now? And normally that channeling, when I start to do that, that takes us exactly where they're meant to go. If it's a challenge around love, it's a challenge around health, if it's a challenge around career, if it's a challenge around abundance, whatever, around their children, that tends to come through. And so by the time I'm done with that set of cards and that channeling, we're right into the heart of why they contacted me. And then they'll start to ask their questions, or tell me what else they want to look into.
Okay, that is fascinating. So you're saying new clients tell you nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You lay out the cards or do the initial cards and channeling, and then it tells you what the perceived, I don't want to say like problem areas are, but what their challenges are, what they're facing. Or do you
Yeah,
also from them, like I assume these are Zoom or some form of,
there's Zoom. Yeah.
and so, or is it just in talking with people that you kind of already know their energy just by how they interact? Or is it both?
It's a little of both. I mean, with some clients, I mean, some people are naturally very chatty. So, they'll, the minute we connect and I say hello and I explain how it's all going to go and what's going to happen, they have just said, oh, I've been waiting so long. I'm in such a bad place. I feel like I'm really at my wit's end. So I know that that we have a lot of work to do today together.
Oh, okay,
Right.
gotcha.
But then there are those people that give me nothing. They are just like, it's so nice to meet you. I've been looking forward to this. And then they say nothing.
Oh,
And it doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong way to do it. It doesn't inhibit my ability to read their energy. But remember, I can't read your mind. So
sure.
I can't access memories or thoughts for anybody in your life, which is another reason why I can't predict the future. You want to know if your ex-boyfriend's coming back to you. Well, I can't read his mind. So I really can't tell you for sure. However, energetically, we can see what's aligned.
Okay, that is fascinating. I thought there was going to be like a questionnaire and kind of
No.
like, I don't know, I'm making this more like a job interview.
Yeah,
That's
no,
where you
and I think
are.
that's one reason why I have such a successful business. And because I don't advertise, well, now my tarot's advertised because of the promotion of the books.
Sure.
But before I wrote the book that was released in 2024, I only work through referral. You don't know about me unless you know someone that knows about me. And I mean, I built a global business on that. So, and I think the reason that happened was because people start to understand the power of this and they start to see the results that they want. So they like to have an energetic check-in, once a year, twice a year, once a month. If they're in crisis, it's more frequently.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. So you keep an ongoing relationship if the people need you,
Mhm.
or there could be some people that just through that season that they're going through and then they're
And
gone.
then, yeah. Well, my job is to put myself out of a job. I know I've had great success when I don't hear from a client again.
Oh, that's like beautiful but sad.
It's beautiful. There are 8 billion people on the planet. There's always going to be another one that needs and will find me at the right time. But it just is so fulfilling when the person I've been working with is just in a really great stride again in their life.
Okay, but do they say goodbye?
Not always. It's okay.
Oh gosh, you're such a sweet soul. I would be like so sad. Like they didn't say goodbye after all this. Because it has to be a trusted relationship. I'm sure that it's very intimate in its own
Yeah.
way. Yeah. Well, you're so
There.
sweet and special to do that because I'd be like, but we were, yeah. Maybe, okay, maybe I need to book one about closing or endings.
That's funny. Yeah.
So you had mentioned book two, obviously, is released. Where are we at with book three, four, five? You said you wanted to do six altogether.
Yes, yes. Let me just shift my seat because um so book one was ancient Egypt, is the past life. And book two, we continue the thread of the modern day story because in each novel, about a year or so transpires in modern day New York City, but a full past life. So in
Neat.
book two, we go to Renaissance France for the
Oh,
past life.
yes.
And then book three, which I've started, is the Vatican A Life in the Vatican, during kind of the late 1400s, when the Spanish Inquisition began.
Mm.
Book 4 is kind of like 1950s, early 60s Europe. Think like Sean Connery, James Bond era,
Oh,
just kind of sexy and very racy. That's more the most like jet setty life. Book
what was it?
5 is,
Good time too. It
yeah,
was like the era of Camelot. Yep.
exactly. Very, very true. Exactly. All of that going on.
Yep.
Book 5 is the Ottoman Empire in probably the
Oh, you
1400s.
went
And then
back.
books, well, yeah,
Okay.
because remember, linear time and space don't exist to energy. So in past lives, we can be living now in 2025, and then we can have our next life in 2120 or 1322. It doesn't, it's believed that it's whatever serves the soul's purpose best.
Oh my gosh, I didn't believe that. I thought it was linear.
No.
I thought, oh, I don't want dark ages.
No, linear time is a man-made construct. We invented linear time, the 24-hour day, the 365-day year, in order to have structure for this experience. And it works beautifully for us. But in energy, time is different.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and the final book, the sixth book, is in Scandinavia, like Denmark or something, in like the early mid 1400s.
How much research are you having to do just to get the costume, the language, everything right? I mean, you're basically writing historical fiction,
Yeah.
every single book,
Yeah.
all over the globe. It's not like, like Dan Brown, he wrote it here, but he also wrote like 3 books in that series. So he had the whole world. You're starting world building every single time new.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Well,
Hard.
it's interesting. One thing, since I channeled it and I literally lived it, I understand like just the emotions of the time, the stressors of the time, and things like that. But then, of course, I have to do a lot of research, just on literally just facts and figures and data and dress and you know, um, living arrangements, village arrangements, like all these things. What was the structure of the civilization? But that's such a joy, I mean, it was so much fun to research Egypt. It was so much fun to research Renaissance France. And the Vatican, this is the period where, like St. Peter's Basilica is getting built. It's pre-Michelangelo doing the Sistine Chapel, but it's a very rich time in history, and I do like history, thank God. So it's not a task for me. It's a joy.
I was gonna say some people listening would be like, "Oh my gosh, no way I could do that," and you're like, "I
Yeah,
love it."
exactly. That's right. That's why they're not writing that book. I am, and they have a different story to write.
How did you channel it, if you don't mind sharing, or if it's too personal? I completely
Yeah.
understand.
So when I say channel, what I mean by that is I open up my intuition, my energetic body to allow messages. So we've all heard of the expressions clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient.
Mhm.
Or if you haven't, they're kind of three common words for extrasensory perception. ESPs, when I was young, is what it was called.
Yep.
And all that means is that we have this ability to see, hear, and know things. Like we're all clairsentient all the time. We always kind of know like the vibe of a person, like, oh God, that person has like, I don't like that person's vibe. Or if you are a parent, you can automatically just look at your child and be like, what's wrong? You just have a knowing. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And we all have hunches about things. That's what all I'm talking about is I use my hunches, okay? But but I've exercised that muscle. Like if you want a nice bicep, you got to pick up the dumbbell and do the curl. I exercise my intuitive muscle all the time. So when I sat down to channel these stories, I used my tarot deck and I used only the major arcana, which are just 22 cards in the 78 card deck.
Okay.
And the cards just showed me and told me what the lives were. So the first thing I did is where was my soul in these supposed past lives? And so that's how I got the Egypt, Renaissance France, all of that. And then I went back and did a thicker, bigger, more in-depth reading with the whole deck, all 78 cards, and I got layer after layer. Gigi, I have 40 hours of recorded sessions on Zoom of me channeling this story to life.
Oh
I
my
taped
good.
I taped all of it. So
Wow.
yeah.
Do we
So it was fun. It was during COVID too, and I did it with one of my best friends. So it was also a way to kill time when we were all homebound. So it was good.
that is fascinating. Do we have limits? How do you have more lives than I do? I'd imagine so. Not all souls can have the same amount,
Right.
right?
No, I think it's very unique to each
I think
person.
so.
I do. It's a personal, it's like a fingerprint. You know how our
Mhm.
fingerprints are unique to our body? I think our experience as a soul and how many times we've incarnated in this human experience is, I think it's unique to every person. I can't exactly answer that question. I don't know the true answer, but that is my, my belief.
I would imagine so because we have young and we have old and ancient and so when you sat down with the full deck, did you get more?
More lives or
More
just
past lives that came through?
no, I was just focusing at that point. I was just focusing on the ones that I had
Oh, oh,
looked into.
oh,
Yeah,
okay. A
yeah.
different,
It was
different.
just to get more layers of like, okay, so I, like in book one, you know, I was a mystic in ancient Egypt is what the past life was. So what was this life? Who was this pharaoh that I worked for? Like, you know, what did this look like? So, but yeah, once I had those past lives, I was like, all right, that's enough. This because it's a little weird, right? It's totally weird. It's like,
Okay.
oh my God. Yeah, I mean, believe me, even though I do this for my job, even so, my mind sometimes is like, what the heck? How is this right? Is this real? It's interesting. So
Well, I was going to say because if you're a mystic in Egypt, can you feel it now? Are there some things you're like, yeah, that fits who I am today? Is there like a connection from then till now in
yeah,
your
that's
soul? I know we don't remember past lives, but is there a thread?
well, I think the thread, and that's why it's a series, is the themes, the lesson I'm trying to
Mm,
learn as a soul.
okay.
So the the premise when I channeled these stories, as I said, was in my past life regression that I experienced in
Mhm.
2017. I was told that I never was the wife, like I wasn't willing to embrace true love and trust it. So
Oh,
that's the theme of the story is how does one individual, a woman, because I'm a woman, so I'm writing as a woman,
sure.
embrace love in a really committed, true way. And really allow that, open up your heart, be vulnerable, allow it in from self-love, but then the love of another. It's one of the scariest things we do in life.
Well, I'd imagine we discount it. We're good at being like, this, and this. Oh, I don't like what I hear. I'll believe that
Hmm.
one, that one. I don't believe that one. We do
Hmm.
it all the time. Even if all three are true, it's like expert witness testimony. We all see different things. You have a car accident, everybody sees different things. And it doesn't change. Like, there could be a camera that caught every piece of that accident, but you're like, no, 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 I saw or I know. So, how do we not discount if it is true, if it is ours?
Well, we can sabotage it because we have an idea in our head of what it's supposed to look like and how they're supposed to behave and what I need from you to make me happy.
Of course.
It's, but that is codependent. That's toxic love. And so to embrace real love is to have acceptance for your lover, allowing them the dignity of their journey to be who they are, even though they're going to disappoint us, even though they're going to let us down, even though they're going to aggravate the hell out of us. All of that happens despite your unconditional love for them. But love is like unconditional love is not something that you can do all the time. You know, we often have conditions around love, especially between with ourselves. Like we're not worthy of this. We're, our shame story, our disgrace, the things that we don't like about ourselves.
Yeah.
There's that's such conditional love. And we do it with the person that is our intimate partner. So it's a process. And again, it's never going to be perfect. And it's not supposed to be. But when you can embrace the opportunity to welcome in the qualities that you really are like a hard stop for you, like
Mm-hmm.
consistency, follow through, showing up for me. Like I have an abandonment wound. That's my wound in this lifetime. So for me, my lover, and I'm living this soulmate story, like I'm actually in this lifetime finished the series, but it's he shows up for me. The things he gives to me, despite where he may frustrate me or like I don't, I'm like, all right, well, that's all yours. That's not mine. But the way he shows up for to me and loves me gives me everything I need. And so then I can stand in my sovereignty and feel like, oh my God, you just make me so much better. I have a great life, but you enhance it. You make it more colorful, things like that. So it's tricky though, because then we still want that lover to make us feel better about things where we don't feel good about ourselves.
Of course. I think that's fascinating. And abandonment issues is so very common. So
Oh,
very.
Gigi, one thing I know, having worked with so many people, the human playbook, we all kind of live out of like the same 5, 6 plays. Worthiness wounds, abandonment wounds, fear of lack, all these things. I'm not lovable, all these things. And we all have them in our unique way. It's just, there tends to be one that's more intense for people than the others. So,
Well, and abandonment, from what I understand, the opposite is then everyone goes hyper independent. I don't need you. I'll do it myself. I have
yeah, really.
help.
Yeah,
I'll
shut
depend on it.
totally.
Yeah.
Shut down your heart, become super judgy, super like, I'm going to leave you before you leave me. And so you become a bit of an impenetrable
Or,
heart,
yeah.
your emotional body is shut down. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I feel like we could talk another hour easily. Fascinating stuff. Um, so IG always has a limit on us though. Where can people find you online?
Oh, so I am on Instagram under Kelly O'Hearn Author, where I obviously give updates on the books, but I also offer some free tarot readings, monthly zodiacs, readings of the week, things like that. And so Kelly O'Hearn Author on Instagram and TikTok. I do have a website for the book. It's arcanumtheseries.com. So that can give information about the books. And there's a link on that website if you want to learn about my tarot business.
And I think your website is your name,
My
right?
website for tarot is KELLYOH.life.
Oh, okay, great. Because I think
Yeah,
that's what I looked you
yeah.
up at. So I have one last question. If you could wave a wand, where would you be in 1 year? What would your life look like?
Oh, it's exactly how it is.
I wish you know
So
you would have a beautiful,
maybe not having aged a year.
but I love you're like, I'll be exactly where I'm meant to be. I mean, the peace and beauty in that statement. You're the
Yeah.
first person I've asked that has said that. I ask it all
Oh,
the time, and everybody's,
really?
oh, I want this, and they go through the list, and you're the first one who is like, where I'm meant to be.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love my life.
That's a beautiful response.
Thank you. Well, thank you. It kind of makes me sad that I'm the only one that has said it, but it's food for thought, perhaps.
The only one, yes.
Yeah.
Kelly, it has been a fascinating interview. I would love to have you back. Maybe this fall you could come back on, and we
Yeah.
can chit again because you just the energy it just radiates out of you, and I can see how you have clients globally. I can see how you have this empathetic heart to help people. It just you can just see it. You can just hear it.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. And I would love to
Yeah.
return and chat some more with you. I could tell you and I could just go for hours.
Yeah, because I find the subjects fascinating, and
Mhm.
I love to get expert opinions because you're right. We all are all so diverse, but in the sense we want the same thing. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to be accepted. Everyone wants to be safe. They want to have a secure home, a beautiful life. So it's strange to me. You said there's what, 9 billion people? We're so different, yet we all have the same common
We're
needs.
all driven by the exact same need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And congratulations again on your new release.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure, truly.
Oh, my pleasure. Ciao for now.
Bye.
Bye.